Hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing good. So I'm here and I have some leftover kiwis. These are Zespri Kiwi Fruit Green, tangy and sweet. These are product of New Zealand and they're from Costco. And when Irina was here, she left them here. And so there's quite a few kiwis. So I don't know if you can see, but I have all these kiwis and oranges, and so I normally don't buy kiwis myself, but since they're here, I want to use them up and I want to eat them. So I'm gonna make a little bit of a fruit salad with kiwis, and these are kind of soft, and I gotta peel them. I'm not really good at peeling. The other thing I'm gonna add is my mom left to go somewhere, and we bought these pears from Trader Joe's, and they're the Harry and David pears. And these ones have been ripening for quite a while, and they're very sweet. I had some, and I finished them, and then my mom had some left over, and you can buy them at Trader Joe's because when I was a boy, somehow my dad or my family would order from Harry and David. We get the pears in the mail order, and they'd come in kind of a box, and you'd let them sit there and ripen for, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, and they were real sweet and real good. And then when I got to be an adult and I was working, my dad would also send me like pears, and they did this other stuff. They did like moose munch, and they had all these they had some cheeses and stuff. I thought it was really good. I really liked it. And when I first started getting the moose munch, there weren't any like kernels in it or anything, or any hard things to crunch. I think later on, I can't remember if it changed or not, but they had kind of this milk chocolate with popcorn and almonds in it. It was really good. And I bought some a couple years ago, shipped to Florida, and because I think they're in Oregon, they're an Oregon company, and they were a little small. I wasn't. I was a little bit like, hey, did I really order this? And prices have been going up and everything, so it was a little bit of a shock. But since they have them at Trader Joe's, we're like, oh, we'll just get them at Trader Joe's. And so I'm gonna peel these with the kiwis, and I'm gonna have, I guess, a kiwi and pear salad. So I'm gonna try to peel these. I'm not particularly good at peeling them. I don't know what the secret is to peeling them, and how that works. I don't have any fantastic way to peel them. I just basically sort of try to get as much of the skin without getting the fruit as possible, and I have you can see a little stripe there that didn't come off, but kiwis are really good. So when I used to, for a while when I was like in my early 20s, I got into, having a juicer. And so I would make all types of juice. And kiwis were one of those fruits that it was good to eat it plain, but but if you added it to a juice, it added a ton of flavor. But it wasn't, it wasn't one of the most amazing fruits to juice. But if you just did one, it added a lot of flavor, and those seeds are good and all that kind of that fruit type of stuff that, I did. I was juicing a lot of carrot, apple, celery juice and all that stuff. And then I eventually just kind of stopped it. But unfortunately, when I had mental illness, I got rid of the juicer, and I was really upset. It was one of the things that I said, or I thought I'd said, that I wasn't ever going to get rid of. And my grandma and grandpa had gotten that for me because I'd asked for it. And it was like an Acme from, I don't know if it was from Williams-Sonoma or where. It was like an Acme, and it did the centrifugal kind. It made a bit of noise. If it got uneven, it was a little bit of a hassle. But I remember drinking all that juice. It was very good. But I've just since kind of changed. Don't do any of that. But when there's extra fruit and it's going to go overripe, you know, it's good to just eat the foods that you have, because you know, once they go bad, you know, nobody gets to eat them or whatever. So, and with the prices going up and everything, you know, it's like, hey, you know, have as many kiwis as there are while you got them, you know, and make sure they don't go, you know, they don't get over ripened. So you got to have kind of soft hands with this, because I got the center of it and I can't really get the center out. I'm going to cut it in half so I don't ruin the fruit. I'll just kind of cut it like that. And I got this whole half of kiwi here. It takes quite a while, but they are really good. It's got that real, kind of that tart flavor to it that is really good. Amazing today that we can get fruits from other parts of the world, and you know, South America, Central America really makes it amazing. You know, you talk about, you know, local and stuff like that, but you know, I don't know if kiwis can grow here, you know. So so I like this. I'm gonna try a pear after this. You know, my hands get a little bit, you know, sticky from all the fruit, and but I do remember liking kiwis. They were just so good. So get a paper towel. That is probably not the speed record for peeling kiwis. I am sure that is not the speed record. But anyhow, so here's a pear, and I'm gonna peel the pear too. Normally I don't peel the pear. I just kind of, and when I used to have them for juicing, they said they're better if they're firm and not mushy, so they're less ripe. They were like boss pears and stuff, and I would just cut them into 9 sections and put them in the juicer, and they'd add so much flavor. But I'm gonna try to peel this, because these skins on these pears, I had another box of this. They are real gritty. They grip a lot in your mouth. They're not really appetizing. And when I was younger, I didn't really mind it. I thought the pear skins were fine. I didn't really have a problem with them. But I found these ones, you know, and I don't know what the reason for it, if I just haven't been aware or what, but the pear skins now are just too much for me to eat, just, you know, eating down on a bunch of pear skins. But so I'm going to try to peel this, because what I was doing is I was eating the fruit and then just kind of spitting out the pear skin. And I could chew it up, but it would just last so long. I was like, oh, I'll just you know, spit out the pear skin. So I finally decided, well, why don't I try to peel the pears and then have all the fruit from the pears. So, but I can smell this pear. It smells very good, and I'm so glad I have good pears, because they are fun to eat. So this one has definitely got a lot of brownness there, which I'm just gonna peel off, really. Just slice that stuff off, and you can see it comes right off. And then I'm gonna just kind of cut it down the center. And then what I found yesterday is I can just kind of carve out the core of it really easily without having to slice it and then carve it. And the center just kind of, the center just kind of pops out, and then I can slice this here and get some pieces in there just like that. So, oh, I got a skin in there. Take that skin out. When I was reading about juicing and everything, the skins sometimes on the fruits, I can't remember, like the leafy part of the vegetables of carrots sometimes were considered like really good for you. They had a lot of nutrients. And then at some point, some of the skins, I can't remember, kept some of the, you know, the stuff that goes on to keep the bugs off or whatever, however you bought it, if you bought organic or non-organic or whatever. So some of the stuff was recommended to eat or juice the skins, like the skins of blueberries and I don't know what else. And then other stuff was thought, well, you could peel it and then use it, but I can't ever remember whether because you sort of say, well, you want to eat everything from the fruit, but with the manufacturing or the farming or whatever, sometimes that stuff is better if you peel it. And I know with pears, it just tastes so much better to peel it. So I'm gonna try a little piece here, see how it is. That's very good. Very good pear. And I got 2 of them. You can see my bowl here, right there with the fruit. And now, it takes a while. My back gets kind of tired, but I'm gonna do a second kiwi now. So I'm gonna just go as slow, not as slow as I can, but just as best I can with it so that I get as much of the fruit. I remember when I was in college and I got to play tennis, and we would go to Florida for tennis matches in like spring break. We'd go for spring break and we'd play other teams. And I was pretty young, and we went, maybe we weren't in Florida. I can't remember. Sometimes one year we went to South Carolina and one year we went to Florida, but I got some grapefruits, going to the grocery store, and somehow we just ended up getting some grapefruits, and it was from Florida grapefruits, and it was like the best grapefruit I'd ever had. I mean, it was so good. And my grandparents in Montana used to get a case of grapefruits, and then they'd keep them in kind of a cold area in the basement. And then every couple days or whatever, they'd go down and have a grapefruit. And those were good. But when I got them, they seemed to be, so much more fresh. They were like right from the farm or whatever. And I don't think they were any special grapefruit. They were just from the grocery, but they had to have not traveled too far because we were in South Carolina, and the grape, they were from Florida, and they tasted so amazing. They were so sweet, so nice. I was just like, wow, this is just the best. And I wasn't even that into grapefruits at the time. I mean, I was just sort of like, I hadn't done the juicing and stuff like that. I wasn't really into the fruits and vegetables. But I thought those grapefruits are just phenomenal. And so I had there was only a couple of them. I can't remember, 2 or 3 of them. And they were really good. So I've always remembered that about, Florida and South Carolina, or this area, that if you get fruit from here, it's really good. And I guess I hear that some of the farms and stuff have, they don't produce as much as they used to, and people's, the people are changing their taste for different fruits and stuff, and more of it comes from other areas or whatnot. I know there was a lot where, the people said their prescriptions wouldn't work if they ate grapefruit, the prescription would stop working or something. I thought, oh, that's got to be one of the worst things ever, And talk about how the orange juice is, there's not as much orange, the orange juice, demand is way down. People don't drink it. I remember, I'd have a bowl of cereal in the morning, and I'd always look at the back of the cereal box. I'd be at my grandparents in Montana, and they'd have a box of cereal or something, and I had boxes of cereal at my mom's too, but I'd sort of end up reading the back of the cereal box. And it always had, if they ever showed what the breakfast should be, complete your breakfast, it was a glass of milk, a glass of orange juice, a bowl of cereal, and something else was there. I can't remember what it was, but it was like, you know, that was sort of the idea of the full breakfast or something with a bowl of cereal. And, you know, I didn't, you know, sometimes my grandparents would make orange juice. They had an orange juicer, and they'd buy sort of a case of oranges or whatever, and then we'd have orange juice. But I do remember, you know, it was sort of like you'd always have orange juice. And then, you know, I grew up where we'd buy it in the frozen can, and it was like Minute Maid orange juice or whatever. And then it would settle a little bit after a while, and you'd sort of stir it around with the spoon in the thing. And then that became where, you know, Tropicana came out with, you know, they came out with, you know, not from concentrating. Concentrate became bad. It was like concentrate was no longer considered good, and you had to buy your orange juice in a milk container, which is a half-gallon milk container, except they put a spout on it. And that was the not from concentrate. It was supposed to be so much better. And so, you know, people drank that for a while, but it was more expensive and whatnot. But I mean, a couple of years ago, I went to a grocery store, and I thought, where's all the canned frozen juice? You know, and I thought, well, it'd be really cool. You get a lot of like tropical stuff, because they had some canned juice that was frozen that had like tropical fruits in it and tropical fruit juice. Thought, what a great way, you know, to get tropical juice. You know, you get it frozen from concentrate. But the section of the grocery store was very small. It was like, you know, it was literally like this much of the grocery store was canned, you know, frozen canned juice. And what I remember growing up is it was like an entire aisle was filled with it. So yeah, all that stuff has definitely changed. So I don't always remember, or I'm not always aware of when it changes or how it changes or whatever, but I'm gonna try a little bit. So the other thing I did is, I can't say, but well, anyway, I've found in ordering things that sometimes my order gets canceled. So I go to an online retailer, right? And I go to order something, and it says, thanks for your order, I pay for it. And then like a couple days later, these are big brand names that I'm ordering from. And then a couple days later, it's like, oh, your order was canceled. And I'm like, why did the order get canceled? Like what happened? What was the reason? There's no reason for the order being canceled. There's no email, nothing. So sometimes I reorder it, and that worked. And so I don't know if it gets canceled if you order it in the wrong size, or like if it comes in packs of 2 and packs of like 1, and you order 3 packs of 1 and they cancel it or something. I don't really know. You know, this is separate from having, let's see if this is, it's good, but it's not as right. It's not as good. It sort of crumbles a little bit. But, you know, and then I go back and look, and maybe they've changed the number or something, like the number of items or something. But, you know, having orders canceled, and this is separate, because sometimes you order and the items don't, you know, you're missing items or whatever, or something else arrives that you didn't order or something. But the canceled orders has just been really baffling. I mean, you know, for somebody with, you know, mental illness or whatever, it's like, what's going on? Like, what happened? Like, are they canceling my order, or is it the product, or, you know, what's going on with it? Like, why is the order being canceled? And there's no real explanation for it. So I went back today and I made another order, and I ended up shopping and adding a couple things to it. And I'm hoping the order doesn't get canceled, because it's really upset because with the, they've got the shipping way down. The shipping is so much better than it used to be, and the times are way down. So if you want to order something and they deliver it to, to wherever you are, it sort of works. But the miss-ups, there's a few miss-ups and stuff, but that sort of goes with it. But the shipping times are way down, and it's so much easier to ship, with less time and everything. So, you get sort of excited when you order something. You're like, oh, I'm going to get this in a couple days, or I'll have this by this holiday or that holiday or whatever. And so when the orders got canceled, I was like, oh, I was really looking forward to receiving this. What caused the canceled order, So it's really just, with no explanation. I don't know why the order's getting canceled. So we'll see if this next one gets canceled or not. I don't know. So okay, this one I did not cut all that well. I just sort of went with it, and you lose a little bit of that fruit, and that's just what I got to do. I think the last pair was not. It's okay if that's the pear. I think this is the. It's a little bit gone over, but it's still right. So, but kiwis are just really good. So I'm gonna have kiwi and pear. So. Really good. So, if you have a lot of stuff that you buy, and you can eat like a full bowl of fruit, So anyhow, that way, otherwise, it goes bad or whatever. Anyway, I hope you're doing good, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.